Hello, everyone. So, we are here for Thought Shifting Thursdays at noon. Let's see, for some reason my Instagram isn't working. Huh. Tell you what. Let's try it again here. Okay, going live with Instagram too. It's not working. Doesn't seem to be working. Well, anyway, we'll just go forward with Facebook then. Sorry for the technological issues there, but anyway, we're getting better at this stuff eventually. So, what I want to talk about today is looking for the magic in every experience. And so, I wrote a book back in the day, 20 years ago. I was writing it, called The Magic of the Soul, which you see behind me. Here's a closer look. And it's been a best-selling book on Amazon, and it's been used by Centers for Spiritual Living for the last 17 years. Well, started out with Religious Science International as curriculum for them for 7 years, and for the last 10 years it was adopted by Centers for Spiritual Living. And so it's been taught to hundreds, maybe thousands of people for all I know, through this curriculum. And it's been great for me because it sold a lot of books. But more importantly than that, it has enriched and transformed the lives of many, many people. And so, in fact, a client of mine who's been a coaching client with me for the last year said in our last session, just the other day, said, "Guess what? I started reading your book." And he said, this is not to put down the great book by Ernest Holmes called The Science of Mind, but he said, this is so much easier and approachable a treatise than the Science of Mind book is, because it was written. Science of Mind was written back in the 40s at a time when, it was just a much more analytical or mental process. It's the science of the mind. And actually, in the New Thought movement, one of the things that we often say is the science of mind has become the science of the heart. And so, the proof of that is that The Magic of the Soul has been a book that has been embraced by Centers for Spiritual Living and Science of Mind centers everywhere, because it really combines New Thought and spiritual psychology. New Thought, which really invites us at the highest level to understand and appreciate our divine nature. And spiritual psychology encourages us invites us to embrace and honor our personal nature, right? And so it's really about loving every part of ourselves. And in fact, by the way, when we do shadow work, the only way to really love ourselves completely and unconditionally is to love every aspect of ourselves. And really, ultimately, the evolution of consciousness is the evolution of love. And so, what the Magic of the Soul encourages us to do is to look for the magic in every experience, especially the most challenging ones. So if I'm feeling distress about anything, and this isn't a new idea, this is something that we see in memes everywhere, is to look for the magic, the potential for growth, or the way I like to say it now is to see the beauty in everything in life, especially the most challenging things, or even the things that may appear to be horrific. For example, there's so much challenge in our world today, as far as the pandemic, as far as political divisiveness, as far as social injustice, right? And people are killing each other over these subjects. I found out recently that you can't buy handguns in California right now, which may many of us may believe is a good thing. But the reason for that is because more people are killing each other, because being locked in their homes is not a healthy thing for human beings. So I don't want to get into any of the political implications of any of that. But I do want to say that we can look for the magic in the pandemic, or being sequestered in our homes, or in what is happening in the world as far as the divisiveness. Then we can move into a place of solution. As long as we're looking at from a place of the problem, we cannot solve any of these issues from that place. And so I'll give you an example from my life. So several years, actually, I might even tell you the story about how the book became the book that it became. So I was writing the book, as I was writing it, called The Magic of the Soul, and the intention for the book was Magic of the Soul, how to manifest what you want in your life. And I felt I was really good, had become really good at manifestation. I was in a marriage of 13 years, very happy, healthy relationship. I was, in the corporate world, had a wonderful corporate job, making a 6-figure income. And I was healthy, strong, fit, was a tennis pro in my 20s, and went into studying Kung Fu in my 30s. And I was right around 40 years old when I was writing the book. And I'd like to say a funny thing happened on the way to the magic of the soul. Everything fell apart. So I became chronically ill. The corporate job went away, and my marriage of 13 years ended, all within a period of about 6 months. It felt like everything that I was identified with on a personal level, on an egoic level, was stripped away. So I stopped writing the book for a while because I thought, there's nothing magic in this experience. Au contraire, I was wrong about that. And so, I went about trying to heal. And so I went the traditional route as well as the alternative route. Went to the Mayo Clinic. They did all kinds of tests. They found nothing of any merit, nothing that would be causing the symptoms that I was experiencing. By the way, I was so ill that I would be laid up in bed for 2 weeks at a time, not able to get out of bed, not having enough energy to even carry on a conversation. And so the alternative route, I was doing hyperbaric oxygen chamber, acupuncture, acupressure, of course, deep meditation, going into alpha and theta brain waves 3 times a day, and spiritual mind treatment, energy healing. I was throwing lightning bolts at it, and nothing was changing the appearance. And all the while, I was resisting the experiencing, resisting the experience, resisting the symptoms. Really saying to myself, how could this be happening to me? I've been in this teaching of law of attraction and science of mind and new thought for 20 years. I've been meditating since I was 18 years old. How could this be happening to me? So as I continued to get more ill, and it was 30 years without a diagnosis and virtually no improvement, I thought, actually continuing to become more and more ill, it occurred to me, maybe I'm approaching the end of this life experience. And so I decided at that moment that if I am to die from this, whatever the heck it is, I'm going to use dying as a process of understanding at the deepest level who I am as a spiritual being. And guess what happened? I started to heal, of course. But it wasn't a direct line to healing. I would practice surrender. I would practice embracing the symptoms rather than resisting them. And I'd start to feel a little bit better. And then I would go out and do something I used to be able to do, like take a walk, and that would put me back into bed again. And then I would resist again. And because it felt so good to just have a little bit of energy back, a little bit of that life force energy used to feed my charisma and my how I would serve people. And so, and then I would remember as I'm lying in bed, oh yeah, it was that surrendering thing, that embracing practice that got me to feeling better, so I'd go back to embracing and surrendering. And so this happened cyclically for a while. It was as though, not as though, it was actually my soul creating the absolute perfect scenario, situation for me to learn how to be in a consistent state of surrender. So I ask you, my dear listener and viewer, what would your life be like? 100% in a state of surrender. Of course, that's an ideal. Of course, that's never going to happen completely. But just to get a sense of the power of surrender, just entertain that for a moment. What is my life like in a consistent state of surrender? And so this is how I was being trained, or to put it another way, how I, the soul of Patrick, was training him to be in a consistent state of surrender so he can be open to my influence. And so that's when I got back to writing the book. And that's when I began to heal more and more. Is the more I gave up the resistance, the more I embraced. And I say at least 20 times a day, I mean a week, at least 20 times a week, sometimes maybe 20 times a day, to coaching clients, to in classes, in workshops, in ceremonies, in sweat lodge ceremonies that I do, that anything that we resist not only persists, but is magnified. Anything that I embrace becomes my ally, my teacher, my healer. And in fact, what I've experienced is that when we resist anything, we create a block in energy. So if it's something physical, if I have pain in my knee and I'm resisting it, right? I'm resisting the pain, which is the natural thing that we do as human beings, is to resist things that are uncomfortable. Then I'm blocking the energy at the place in my energy system where that pain is. But when I embrace, then the energy begins to flow. One time, example of this is I looked at my wife who was having chronic knee pain, and she was talking to her knee and saying, I love you. When we embrace and love anything, then the energy flows. And what is the energy? The energy is the energy of love. It's the only real energy there is in the universe. And so this became my practice, and the message of the book then became so much more profound. The message is, as it stands, is rather than, yes, it's important and joyful to embrace what we want in life. What's even more powerful and even more joyful is to appreciate what we have. And not only the things that obviously bring us joy and happiness and elation, but especially the things that challenge us the most, because that's where the opportunity for growth is the most. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to tell this story, but I think I will, even though it's going to take a little bit longer as I drop my pen. So it's such a poignant example, though. What is her name? Come to me in a moment. She was the famous Star on Three's company, and her name is eluding me right now. Suzanne Summers. And so her house was burned down many years ago in the Malibu fires that we had years ago. That was before we even had mega super fires every season in California now. And on the front page of the LA Times, she was interviewed, and the interviewer asked her this question: how do you feel standing here in looking at the burning embers of your home? And the first words out of her mouth were, I know something good will come from this. So can you feel the power in that? We intuit, we must know that something good had to come from it. Something good would have come from it anyway. But because she was open to it in that moment, she had to realize that good even sooner. So, the truth is, as conscious beings, we look back at the most challenging times in our life. And that's when we often say, that's when I grew the most. It might even be crystal clear that that was a blessing, even though it seemed like a horrible thing at the time. So this practice is simply inviting us to, rather than waiting to find the blessing in retrospect, to access the blessing in the here and now, simply by asking, what is the magic? What is the opportunity for growth? What is the greater freedom, joy, or love, or any spiritual quality that wants to emerge from this challenging situation, from the pandemic, from the political disagreement and polarity that we have in our country right now? And so when we ask these questions, and sometimes we won't get a blinding, bolting light of inspiration. Sometimes it will be, it may take a little while to get the understanding from it. But the important thing isn't even the answer. The most important thing is the question. Because as soon as I ask the question, what's the opportunity in this experience, I'm changing my relationship to the situation. I'm no longer a victim of this situation. Now I am accessing it in order to grow, in order to become more, in order to expand and step into a higher vibration of love. So the simple practice in this that I want to offer you is, for this coming week, ask the question. Anytime anything uncomfortable comes up, whether you stub your toe, whether you have a pain in your body, whether you're being challenged by not being able to hug someone because of social distancing, because you're reading about just another shooting in the news, whatever it might be, what is the greater love, freedom, joy, magic that wants to emerge from this situation? And treat it as an experiment. Just see what happens. And I guarantee you, if you practice this on a regular basis, life will get easier, life will get sweeter, because as we give up resistance, as I said, every experience becomes our teacher, our ally, and our healer. And what this has led me to is a life of non-attachment. Because by practicing this, I realize more and more that no matter what happens in life, it's not bad. It's an opportunity. Then there's nothing to fear about the future, including the demise of the eventual ending of my physical life. I know without question, and I hear a lot of people say, I'm not afraid of death, until they're diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. Then all of a sudden, well, I wasn't afraid of death, but I meant 20 years from now. I didn't mean 3 months from now. But that kind of diagnosis, of course, can be an opportunity. Years later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And when I got off the phone with the doctor that gave me that diagnosis, I had the same words that Suzanne Summers said. Something good is going to come out of this. And even though I would say that fear came up for me during that period of healing, I would say 3% of the time, no more. 97% of that time, I was crystal clear that this is an adventure in healing. And of course, you got to know that I healed so much faster. And 10 years now, 100% cancer-free. I had to heal so much faster and so much more joyfully than if I was judging this as a horrible experience that I must somehow get around and cheat death. So, if you want to learn more about this, of course you could buy the book, but even more so, we're starting a class this coming Tuesday, 6 o'clock by Zoom, Pacific time. And so just go to my my website, livingpurposeinstitute.com, or to my Facebook business page, or my personal page, or Instagram, or whatever. You'll get all the information you need. And 6 weeks, 6 to 9 Pacific time on Tuesdays. And we're going to be using the brand new curriculum for the book. So the curriculum that was used for 17 years, Centers for Spiritual Living asked me to update it because it's been one of the most popular classes, and to revise it. And so I've done that. So it includes all of the transformational exercises, information in the book, but even more importantly, the integration of that, because I've been practicing this for 17 years or 20 years since writing the book, and so all of that integration and the exercises that are in addition to that I've been using in classes and developing in classes and workshops for the last 17 years. So it's going to be a joyous and transformational experience. I know all of you have probably experienced classes, and you know that it's one thing to read a book, but it's another thing to study it and practice the exercises and the group dynamic, the gestalt that happens when one person in a class has a powerful experience and shares it, and that inspires other people to go deep. And this class is now even more interactive than the curriculum has been for the last 17 years. So I know you're going to love the exercises. I know you're going to love the people, because the greatest blessing I have in life is I just seem to have the opportunity of attracting the most amazing people who could be my coach, into the offerings that I get to share with people. So anyway, join us. And if you're on the East Coast, I know it's 9 to midnight, but it'll be the best 9 to midnight hours you spend in your life. So anyway, hope to see you soon for that. And if not, we'll see you again next Thursday for Thought Shifting Thursdays. All right, my friends, love you all. Have a fantastic weekend.